coordinator Gyan to come to the dais. It is time to begin the academic journey of this Gyan program. I take the honor of inviting our distinguished foreign faculty, Dr. Antonio Rapso, to start the first lecture and enlighten us with valuable insights. Over to you, sir.
Good morning once again to the macro. Good morning once again to all of you, and let's start with this first presentation, first lecture of the Gyani course, entitled Food Security and Nutrition and Innovations. And please feel free to interrupt me to ask any question during the presentation. I hope this is an interactive session. I also prepared my presentations with that goal. Please feel free to make any intervention anytime you want. Okay, and I will be very happy also to see your point of view of these topics, these questions we will address here during this course. Okay. So, first presentation with the title you have here, and of course in the brochure of the course, title Highlights of Current Dietary Guidelines in five continents. So we will talk and discuss a little bit of the current guidelines we have worldwide, around the world, about what people should eat in their day-to-day life. So in this presentation we will analyze specifically these five continents and some specific countries of each continent, but of course it will also be interesting to see your point of view, and here I didn't include India. From the Asia continent, we'll discuss a little bit of Japan, but I will be very happy if you share with me how are the current dietary guidelines used here, and what are you more accustomed to use and to learn in your discipline. So, firstly, it is important to mention that it is widely acknowledged that it's crucial to convey the dietary recommendations to the general public in a thorough yet understandable manner. The first dietary pyramid was published some years ago in Sweden, 1974, and was followed by the US pyramid in 1992. And the FAO emphasized the food-based dietary guidelines with key message from many countries, and these countries, the US, South Africa, Argentina and Japan, will be those ones we will discuss and analyze during this presentation. So, we have the My Plate and the dietary pyramid, and the My Plate, as you can see in this slideshow, is a representation of a plate setting with a glass that includes five groups: the grains, vegetables, fruits, protein foods, and dairy. I don't know your opinion about the using of a plate or a dietary pyramid. I believe that these both representations have their benefits, but also their drawbacks. In a pyramid, from the base to the top, you have at the base the food groups. The food groups we should intake in greater amounts, and when you go up to the top, we have those groups of foods we should intake in less quantities. Okay, this is not mentioning that one are more important than the other ones, but the quantities we should incorporate in our diets should be in different portions. Okay, when we have the plate, I think it's better to most of people interpret and acknowledge the importance of all food groups, and the idea is to represent exactly the plate, the dish of each meal we are eating. So we have a plate, and the portions and the food groups should represent exactly that what I should eat, as we have here in this representation. This is a kind of summary what I've just mentioned. So to summarize my plate's main strengths, it has been adapted to cover the needs of pregnancy and breastfeeding, toddlers, children, adults, and older adults, and thus is more precise in its recommendations according and across the life cycle. The website created by the USDA also provides a list of recipes and innovative ways to follow My Plate, where you can go through the website, the official website of My Plate, and recommends moderate to vigorous physical activity, 150 minutes per week. This is very important also to have a healthy lifestyle, not only what people eat, including their diets, but also the relevance of physical activity that should be aligned with the dietary intake. So, following My Plate contributes to the maintenance of healthy body weight, plus a lower risk of hypertension in adults over 50 years of age, and also recommends more satiating foods to treat obesity rather than caloric count. These are recommendations that we can find in a lot of papers, a lot of publications, and not only my plate, but it is important. This is, I believe, a very huge problem we have all over the world. The risk of hypertension, obesity, non-communicable diseases, and all of us health professionals have this goal and this challenge, more than a goal, a challenge to fight in our day-to-day work, and these dietary guidelines, these tools, can help us in our in the achievement of this goal. So the key message of My Plate are to follow a healthy eating pattern that supports adequate nutrient intake to prevent the risk of chronic disease, as I just mentioned, to focus on a variety of nutrient-dense foods, to limit calories from added sugars, saturated fat, and sodium. Important here, this element sodium, most of us sometimes forget its relevance and its impact in the development of some diseases and hypertension, because it has no calories, not associated calories. But the high ingestion of high intake of sodium, it's a very, very, very big problem nowadays on our society, and its high intake, it's very high associated with the development of a huge number of diseases in our societies. Another key message is to shift to healthier beverage choices. Of course, some societies nowadays are plenty of sugary drinks. That's another problem, and the idea is to substitute these sugary drinks with another healthier beverages choices. Here we have the Harvard dietary pyramid, another example of in opposite to My Plate. Here we have the food groups we should intake in higher amounts on the basis, and when we go up to the top, we have the other food groups, not less relevant than those that are situated in the base, but the quantities, the total amounts we should intake are less. Okay, that's important to mention. So, the Harvard pyramid's main strengths. The bottom of the pyramid, instead of including food groups, states the importance of, again, the highlight for the importance of the exercise and the maintenance of a healthy body weight. And the food groups are arranged differently than in the original pyramid, since whole grains, healthy oils, fruits, vegetables are recognized as the foods that should be consumed the most. These are the food groups we should preferably consume in higher amounts than the others, followed by fish, poultry, eggs, nuts, seeds, and beans, of which equal intake is recommended. Next, the next portion of the pyramid recommends dairy as well as vitamin D, calcium supplements, and the top of the pyramid include red meat, butter, refined grains, sugar, salt, and to consume in moderation. Other recommendations include optional alcohol intake in moderation, and this alcohol intake with moderation is especially, we are talking especially of red wine. That is the alcoholic beverage. Its consumption with moderation can bring some kind of benefits to our health. And the intake of daily multivitaminic plus vitamin D for most of people. In Europe, we have the Mediterranean diet pyramid. I don't know if you have already heard about this tool, this guideline. And this Mediterranean diet pyramid was updated quite recently in 2021, if I'm not wrong. I think 2021, 2022. And the main novelty of this update, what is this novelty? It's this third dimension you can see in this image. It's the third dimension related with sustainability, related with the environment, and as you can see, for each group foods. You have like the old pyramid, that we have the portions for each food group we should intake. We have at the base the food groups of vegetables, of fruits, of grains, the foods we should intake in more prevalence, more quantities. But the novelty is on the right side in this third dimension, the impact of the production of these foods to the environment. Okay, so if you can see, the third dimension represents the environmental impact of the production of each food group. We have also here the mention and highlight of biodiversity and seasonability, the importance of this for a sustainable diet, the traditional, local and eco-friendly products, the culinary activities, the way of processing, of cooking these different foods, the relevance, the importance against the regular physical activity, adequate rest, conviviality, and all these things may contribute for a better life, a better quality of life, and this is a tool for us, health professionals, to educate our populations, our communities, to know how to eat, how to prepare their meals, and how to choose the different kind of foods, ingredients when go shopping. So this is the most recent and updated Mediterranean diet pyramid. Firstly, it was considered dynamic cultural heritage and recognized in 2010 by UNESCO. And this last update highlights the fact that takes into consideration not only nutrition, but also sustainability, as I referred earlier, and the environment, as well as economic implications and sociocultural factors, and comprises the combined effort of a number of experts, individuals, who updated the pyramid based on current challenges that Mediterranean populations are confronting. Here is a scheme with a summary of the updated Mediterranean pyramid that is characterized for its contribution to health and nutrition, the environment, the economy, and the incorporation of sociocultural factors. Some of these elements supporting these claims are here depicted. So, regarding health and nutrition, protects against chronic disease, good source of antioxidants, mainly carotenoids and polyphenols, good source of dietary fiber, good source of healthy fatty acids. Regarding the environment, the results in better ecological footprint, increases local and in-season plant-derived food intake. It stimulates the consumption of local food products and respecting their seasonability, attenuates the environmental pressure of food production, and mitigates climate change. Regarding economy, it provides greater sustainability of food system from producer to the consumer along the whole food chain, and lowers public health costs, decreasing rural poverty, and reducing the food loss. Food loss, food waste, it is another hot topic that we will discuss further in this course. But of course, when we are talking about dietary guidelines, about this Mediterranean pyramid, it is impossible not to mention and discuss a little bit also food loss, food waste. And finally, the socio-cultural factors that provide high social and cultural value of food, supports adaptation to different cultural foods, promotes social inclusion, and also provides the consumer empowerment. The Mediterranean diet is unique as it complies with at least 11 of 17 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, mainly number 2 to 8 and 11 to 15, which are related to zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equity, clean water, affordable and clean energy, economic growth, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, and life below water. So all of these sustainable development goals are addressed in the Mediterranean diet, and it complies all of these goals. Changing of region of continent and go to Africa with the South African dietary pyramid. We can see that instead of the representation of the scheme of the illustration, the main goals, the main objectives are quite similar. Here we have this pyramid, and we have 7 different size circles that use South Africa to symbolically reflect the proportional volume that the group should contribute to the total diet. So we have the bigger circles with the representation of foods we should intake more often. Regarding the key message of this pyramid are related to specific foods consumed in that region, including starchy foods, dry beans, split peas, lentils, and soy, and of course it also emphasizes the consumption of fruit and vegetables. It also recommends to drink milk every day, as well as to consume fish, lean meat, and eggs daily, while it is emphasized that sugar, saturated fat, and salt should be eaten sparingly. This South African model illustrates socioeconomic facts and accessibility problems, as numerous items are sold in boxes, bags, cans, plastic jugs and cartons, since not everybody can afford fresh ingredients. This is also important to take into consideration of the different realities, and this is just an example of the South African and in the African continent reality. Fats and oils make up the smallest group, while water and tea are placed at the top. And compared to other dietary guidelines, this pyramid shows the relevance of daily water consumption by placing the image at the top of the graph. Here we have the Argentinian dietary pyramid, and they call it pyramid, but this is, in my opinion, more similar to a plate than a pyramid. We can see here, this is of course in Spanish, but I can translate to you. Actividad física, this is physical activity. Sal, it's salt, so this is a plus. So it is emphasized the physical activity by all people, and discourage the consumption of salt, especially added salt to foods. Then you have the whole food groups, and of course with the bigger representation in this circle, in this pyramid, as you can call pyramid, are the food groups that should be more prevalent on your diet, and that is of course fruits and vegetables. Then you have the grains, the dairy products, meat, eggs and fish, fats and oils, and here sugary meats, and saturated fats, the less relevant group. And in the middle, because it is also the main constituent of all foods, it is water, and of course for their relevance in our health and its consumption, it is very, very important in day-to-day life. This pyramid, in addition to the recommendations of consuming 5 portions of fruits and vegetables, milk, yogurt and cheese daily, has specific recommendation including drinking 8 glasses of water per day and 30 minutes of physical activity daily. Plus, it emphasizes that alcohol should not be consumed while driving, and pregnant women and children should not drink alcohol. The dietary guidelines for the Argentinian population are also a planning tool for the sectors of health, education, production, industry, commerce, and all those who work in the food area, food field. Now, regarding the Japanese dietary pyramid and representing the Asian continent, we have a quite different image, quite different pyramid, you can call it a pyramid, is the Japanese food guide spinning top. And regarding this pyramid, the Japanese food guide spanning top is distinctive that the quantity of food eaten in a daily diet is represented in amounts of the dish, rather than in the food format. It uses the analogy of the shape of a spinning top, which reflects an element of the Japanese culture. So you can see there is this binding between the food elements, and the culture of the country. And in my point of view, this makes sense, because we can learn very much. We can learn a lot from a region, from a country, by its cuisine, its gastronomy, its food. We can have the similar raw materials, similar food ingredients, but the way of preparation, even preservation, and the way we transform those foods will be distinctive from culture to another culture, from region to another region, and we can learn from that culture through the gastronomy, to the way of prepare these foods. And here the Japanese start this binding between culture and food exactly on the design of their guidelines, of their pyramid. So the following categories of food are included in this food guide spinning top. The grain dishes, which are included rice, bread, noodles, etc. Vegetable dishes, fish and meat dishes, milk, fruit, confectionery, sugar-sweetened drinks, and alcoholic drinks. The order of the food groups is determined by the size of the specified daily servings. It is advised to eat a combination of food groups daily, and there are special messages emphasized by this pyramid, including keeping regular hours for meals, enjoying the meals, maintaining a healthy body weight by physical activity, using proper cooking and storage methods, and tracking your food to monitor your diet. So, here in this table and make a brief summary and comparison between all of these guidelines. We have some points addressed by the updated pyramids from my plate and Harvard pyramid in the US, the updated Mediterranean pyramid, and the South African, Argentinian, and Japanese pyramids. And we can see that all of these guidelines, pyramids, clear state dietary recommendations. This is common to all of these guidelines. The same for physical activity is present in the reference of all these guidelines, as well as the socio-cultural factors. However, regarding environment, the only reference, the only pyramid that make mention to the environment is the updated Mediterranean pyramid with its third dimension and the concern to the environment footprint and how harm can be the production of such kind of food products to the environment. So this novelty issue regarding sustainability and environment-friendly food products is specific from the updated Mediterranean pyramid. Of course, I believe in the near future, also in other places, in other regions, this concern will be also taken into consideration, because it's very present in our the lives, and it is related with not only with the quality of life, with the health of people, but also with social factors, economic factors, and the health of our planet as well. Not only our health as human beings, but also the health of the place where all of us live. Regarding economy, also the updated Mediterranean pyramid addresses this issue, and the South African pyramid also takes into consideration this issue of the economy. So this is what I have prepared to bring to the discussion with you, and now please feel free to comment, to tell me something about these topics, and I would be very happy if you share with me how is in India, what have you learned, what do you use as professionals to recommend, to educate the populations, as a public health emerging tools, as a dietary guidelines. So I open the discussion to the audience. I don't know if anyone wants to share their experience and knowledge about anything we have talked here, and of course to share about the Indian, I don't know if it's called like that, the Indian direct pyramid. If you use a pyramid or a plate or another another specific tool to represent the dietary guidelines, and to the final point, to educate people, educate populations, communities, how to eat, how to take healthy lifestyles. So please, anyone?
Very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
A very nice session. So, sir, my first question is related to my plate.
To my
So,
plate.
you highlighted the key points about my plate, but you did not tell us about the limitations. So, I would like to know about the limitations of my plate concept.
Limitations of my plate.
Yes.
Anyone can answer to the colleague? What do you think about the limitations of my plate and in comparison with other guidelines we have presented here? I don't know, the micro. We have any more micro? Oh no, only one. Okay.
Maybe the migrate pyramid lacks the economic and environmental criteria.
Exactly, that's a big important thing. The question of the environment and the economic are not reflected here in my plate, and in my opinion, these are, considering nowadays, are huge limitations of the use. Even the food groups are not so well represented. For example, if you compare with other guidelines, here we have fruits, vegetables, grains, and protein foods. That's all. And for example, if you go to another tool, you can see this division in more detail. So even forgetting the environmental and the economical impacts, here you have better represent these food groups. This is my opinion that the most drawbacks of my plate.
Thank you, sir.
So please feel free to ask
Yes.
as many as
And
possible
if
questions.
anyone wants to speak a little bit of the Indian pyramid,
Good morning, sir.
good morning.
I'm Rishita,
Good morning.
nutrition biology student. So, sir, like normally when my plate is considered, we also write we add physical exercises and avoid smoking and alcohol. But in Japanese diet, they are including that in categories of food. You can see alcohol is included. So, can you just say why? Yes, that's before.
Yes,
Back.
and then it's
Sweet
important.
drinks and alcohol
Yes,
drinks.
yes, and alcohol is also included, for example, in the Mediterranean diet, not only in Japan, and it's very important to explain the people why alcohol is included and how the people can include alcohol drinks in their diet, because it is.
Normally we say like avoid alcohol and avoid smoking.
Yes.
That is specified. Why here we are saying to include alcohol?
Yes, the question is why to include alcohol. Yes, and the alcohol, as you know, some alcoholic drinks, the true is they can make benefits. But of course, the benefits, for example, that red wine provides, they are not exclusively from red wine. So people that doesn't has the habit to drink alcoholic drinks, we will not stimulate the drink of alcoholic drinks, okay? But when people are accustomed and this tradition from that region to drink alcoholic drinks, especially red wine, because it has some benefits.
If it's traditional drinks, then we can say fermented drinks rather than directly saying alcoholic.
Yes, it depends the region. It depends the region, and also the fermented drinks. You have also to make that binding between the region, between the pyramid, and the costumes, the habits of that population. Because in some places there are no costumes, no habits of consume, drink that kind of foods. For example, in the Mediterranean region, it's very common and a very habit to drink wine, drink red wine. So people who are accustomed to drink wine, we will tell, okay, it's not bad to drink wine, but as a moderate consumption. Anyway, we will not say people that doesn't have the habit, the custom to drink wine, you need to start to drink wine. No, you can bring the benefits from wine, from fruits, from other foods. Okay, but if you drink with moderation, a glass of wine with your meal, that is not a main problem. Okay. But of course, it depends of the region. If you here in Japan or India or in another country, you have not that habit, that custom, we will not say you to start to consume alcohol. But that is an important point, because sometimes people can think in some of these tools that include alcoholic drinks, that we must start to consume that drinks, and that is not true. Okay, it is important to explain and pass the right message from these tools. That is an important point. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Anyone would like to explain the Indian pyramid? What you have here, a pyramid, a plate.
Good done, sir.
Money.
I'm Nishu from Biology Department, and I would like to discuss about the Indian food pyramid.
Yes, thank you very
It
much.
would be wrong to call it a single pyramid, because in India we have multiple states, and each state have a different my plate concept.
Oh, yes.
Because they all have their different cuisines and specific dishes. Like for this state only, Haryana, we mainly focus on dairy जो products हमारे dairy products हैं, like milk, yogurt, and butter.
So, if I understand well, for each region you have a different
Yes,
pyramid, yes.
When we move to the southern region, we mainly focus on rice and fermented products, and in the northern regions, you found like dairy is the main focus here. So I think there can't be a single pyramid for India. It would be a group of pyramids for each and every state and every region of a state as well.
Okay. You have not one pyramid common that joined the whole message from each pyramid, no? You have not one only pyramid that combines the whole message from all of that pyramid, no?
I don't think so. Only single pyramid can
Yes.
give that information.
Yes, I believe it would be helpful. And these sustainability and economic factors are implied in that pyramid or not yet?
Actually, officially, no such
No.
pyramids are generated right now.
Okay.
But if they would be, there will be like 28 to 29 pyramids on this.
That would be an interesting project to develop and harmonize one pyramid to here to India, and also taking into consideration these dimensions of sustainability, circular economy are relevant issues today, and a lot of these tools even today not consider them. So it is. I think it would be an interesting project to develop. To develop
It
it.
will be an impressive project to deal with such an integrated like pyramid, like such a multiple pyramids, giving a wholesome picture of the whole country.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for your sharing.
Sir, I would like to add on her answer. According to National Institute of Nutrition, there is one food group pyramid in which it is divided into basically for 5 reasons. Base is for cereals, then fruits and vegetables, then milk products, then oils. At the top is oil. So basically the main concept is divided into 5 subgroups, and under which different state has their own pyramids depending upon the region.
Okay.
In which region the main food is consumed, like in Haryana we more consume dairy products. Similarly in South they consume more rice and
Okay.
vegetable sambar. So it varies. It's the sub part of it.
Oh, okay. You have one common, and then it depends
Yes,
the
yes,
food groups
yes,
of the region. Okay, okay. Now I understand. I better understand. Okay, okay. And okay.
Hello, good afternoon,
Hello.
sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself Shivani, and I would like to know your opinion about something.
Yes.
So traditionally, like in all the my plate and in all the food pyramids, they have given that fruit should be consumed with the meal. But traditionally in India and as per Ayurveda, we avoid fruit with meals. So, what is your opinion about it? Should it be added with the meals or avoided?
I'm sorry. What should be added to the meals? I didn't understand.
Fruits.
Fruit added to the meals.
Yeah, so like in the my plate, it was written fruit, vegetable, grains, and protein source. So
Yes, the my plate and this representation, even in the Mediterranean diet, we have the pyramid, but we also use the not called my plate, but a plate. It's like a circle, and in that circle, it's for us, nutritionists and health professionals, it's easier to explain to the communities and to population how they should eat and the amounts and the election of each food group. And the plate is a representation of a plate, a dish you will go to eat. And it doesn't mean, of course, that you eat, for example, the fruit you can eat separately. That is not mandatory to be in the plate. I don't know if your question is about that, but this is a graphical representation, easier to the population see the quantities and relate the food group to the plate, to see the amount of that food group to that plate. It doesn't mean that in the same exactly dish we will include all of those things. I don't know if your question was about that.
Yes, it was. I would just like to know your opinion. Like, should it be added with the meal or should it be taken separately? The fruits.
The fruits. It depends of the culture. I don't see any kind of problem to mix fruits in the meal. Again, the culture, the region, and the recipes. We have, for example, some places where include fruits in the rice with fruits from other. That is not so well. It's not usual. So, but I don't see, from the nutritional point of view and healthy, and I don't see any kind of problem to mix fruits in the meal. Kind of culture, taste, it's not a problem.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Anusha. I have a question that what is the primary focus behind the establishment of JFG here? What is the primary focus
The primary
behind
focus.
the establishment of JFG, means the Japanese food guides being taught there? Primary focus, primary goal.
The primary goal of this Japanese.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. The primary goal of not only the Japanese but all of these have in common is to teach people, communities, how to buy their food, to make their choices, to go to the supermarket, make the elections of the most adequate shops of foods to their lives, and learn how to eat. And it will depend on the people, on the community, and the adaptation of this tool. It will vary here in Japan, like in other. We have here physical activity. This is very important. All of these pyramids consider physical activity. And then we have water or tea. For example, tea, I believe it's a very common drink in Japan. Also here in India, I have see this custom to drink tea. But for example, in Portugal, it's not so common. In Europe, and for example, in the Mediterranean diet pyramid, we don't have the mention of tea. But of course, it is included in this water. So there is slightly adaptations of each pyramid to the tradition, to the culture of their populations. But the primary focus of all these tools is to teach the populations how to eat and improve their dietary habits, their food habits. That's the primary focus of all these pyramids. And of course, the most new adaptations, the most new updates of these tools are related with the environment, economic, and sustainability, because I believe those are the main issues that we have today. The challenges we have in our, they not only in a specific region but worldwide. We have to take care of it, and the production of foods have a great impact on this, and our choices we make in our daily life have a great impact on these issues. and I hope all around the world, all countries will take this into consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I'm
Good
Anushka
morning.
Deva and I'm a medical student. I have read your research on Catastylus teggy jellyfish as a food supplement. So I was wondering if we can integrate marine-based innovations in future dietary guidelines, especially considering that countries like Canada are still hesitant about jellyfish as a food supplement.
Yes, jellyfish, and that's an very interesting question. I believe that in a future lectures we will talk about that. And I was also wondering if how is the jellyfish consumption, if you have jellyfish consumption here in India, because that was part of my PhD project, study the inclusion of Catostylus tagi, that is jellyfish species, endemic jellyfish species that occurs in the waters near Portuguese coast. And jellyfish, I believe, as you know, are seen as harmful species, harmful animals in the most of cases for most of people. And what we planned to do there was to catch the jellyfish and make them safe to include as a food ingredient in the Portuguese cuisine, to include them in traditional dishes of Portuguese cuisine, of course study their nutritional composition and all those aspects, and then see the acceptance of population of something so different from they are accustomed. And some of people, just for knowing that that dish includes jellyfish, they don't want even to taste it. That's the problem. Even if we explain the health benefits, how good it can be, everything, but I don't want to eat that. Doesn't matter, and that is important when we are thinking on innovation, develop new foods. It is the people, the target people, to see if that people will even able to try the willingness to try that food, because we can waste our time if we are designing a food product that is not adequate for that population. And with jellyfish can also with insects as food, that for example in Europe they are arriving, but most of populations they doesn't care of the taste, the health benefits. They don't want to include that ingredients into their food, so that is a huge problem. And with jellyfish, we make that, and we also make a sensory analysis, gave to the tasters. People who tried it also feel it pleasant, but most of people, or a huge large number of people, didn't want even to taste. Of course, there are other strategies to include them in the cuisine, but if people knows that some kind of element is part of that dish, if it is not cultural accepted, if it is not normal, what's called normal of their diet, can be a problem, make people try, and that is something that researchers in the academic not always think. And we can develop a wonderful food product, food supplement, but if people doesn't want to take in their diet, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. But we have good results. We had good results with the jellyfish from the nutritional point of view and chemical composition, and even those who tried it, they positively evaluated. Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My question is, how do these dietary models address the consumption of sugar, salt, and saturated fats.
The consumption of sugar and salt
And saturated fats.
and saturated fats. Yes, you highlighted the most harmful, I think, elements of diet, and in not all, but in most of societies, countries, their consume is quite elevated. I don't know the numbers of their consumption here in India, but in Europe, in US, they are very, very high, special compared with the guidelines, compared with what we should intake. For example, salt. And salt, I believe, it's the biggest problem, but as you know, salt has no calories, and the people, most of people are not aware of the dangers that come from the excessive consumption of salt. And all the foods naturally has already sodium. It's a component of like proteins, like carbohydrates. Sodium is present naturally in the most foods, and it depends of the culture of the country. A part of the natural content of sodium, we add extra sodium, extra salt to the foods. And it's very, very easy, even today with the industrialized processed foods we have in the market and people are more keen to consume, we easily surpass the recommended intake portions for sodium. For example, according to World Health Organization, we should consume 2000 milligrams sodium per day. And in Portugal, we have consumption around medium 7,000 milligrams. South American countries, some are consuming medium 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 milligrams sodium. And of course, this is related, if we think a little bit, with several diseases, several problems like hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and as you know, the main causes of death worldwide. And the same problem with saturated fats. Sugary drinks, of course. Sugary drinks, we have a very high consumption of sugary drinks. Even policies of politicians are made something to decrease the consumption with by taxing this kind of foods. It is an option, but it is not everything. We have to educate our populations, because only taxing it is not the solution. And we usually say that the forbidden fruit is the most desirable. I don't know if you understand, but it is not say you can't drink, you can't eat this. No, you have to explain why you should not do, why it is important to exclude this or consume very little of this and prefer other kind of drinks, other kind of foods. But yes, that elements you highlighted are perhaps or for sure the most harmful elements we have, and you have to learn to teach people, to teach them, the populations, to avoid them as possible, and to find substitutes. For example, salt. Even in Europe, we recommend people to use more spices, more herbs, to avoid the excessive consumption of salt, especially the salt that people add to the foods. And we have to find strategies to people to substitute that kind of elements they are usually to incorporate in their diets, but to find alternatives to them.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My question is, why does Japan uses spinning top model rather than plate or pyramid?
That is a good question, but that is an option they have, and that is related with that culture, because the spin, it's an element of their culture. That I don't know if you know the spin that children used to play the small spin. So they make this connection between an element of their culture to explain the portions of food to people to understand. That is the reason, the binding between culture and the food.
Okay, one more question. What is the concept behind using these different models like pyramid plate or spinning top?
That is an option, as I mentioned earlier. The primal focus and the main objective is teach people to eat in the adequate portion and adequate food groups. If in my opinion, I prefer the plate. It's easier to explain the people the portions, to visualize the foods, because for example in the pyramids most of people make confusion what is more relevant, what is on the top or what is on the basis. And it's not so easy to visualize it, but that will depend of people by people. There is no not a scientific explanation, or it is more correct to use a pyramid or a plate or a spinning. That will depend. That it's not a scientific explanation for this is more correct than the other. I prefer the plate, but it's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
Sonia?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I am Tushti from Department of Biotechnology. Sir, I want to ask that how environment and economy are related to food pyramid or food models.
And what? Sorry.
How environment and economy are related to food pyramid.
How environment and economic are related to food pyramid.
Yes.
Anyone can answer to the colleague? Any idea? How environment are related to food? Anyone wants to?
I would like to give one simple example to answer this.
Yes.
Like rice needs more water and it emits more carbon and it emits more, like it burdens carbon footprinting if you know about it. If we compare with the millets, so millets need less water, less fertilizers and all. So it requires less energy to produce the same amount of grain as compared to rice. So it helps in climate change and to resist with the pest as well. So millets are more sustained to that.
But rice is the staple food of many Indian states such as southern and northern states consume a lot of amount of rice.
I don't know how to answer it. Definitely, it's the staple food. But if you don't have water to grow that specific cereal, so you have to switch to other cereal. So that's the thing. In case we talk about Haryana, we have less rain and less water available. So that's why our staple food is different. Nowadays, we are switching to what to say millets, basically bajra. So it varies. If you will not adapt to that, so it can cause trouble in future. So it all the food pyramids tries to align with the sustainability goals.
Yes, and for example, to produce and to have, for example, you have a kind of meat, a red meat, the amount of greenhouse gas emissions to produce that meat, the money needed to create all the conditions to have your cattle and then to produce are quite different. For example, to produce some kinds of fruits or vegetables. That is the binding, a part of the explanation given by our colleague colleague with the rice, that is the connection of the food pyramid and the food ingredient, the dish that you have when you go for lunch or for dinner, and the way that dish take from the production and what was needed to produce that piece of rice, potato, red meat, chicken, and it differs from food to food. And some raw materials, some foods are more damage to the environment, and you need more specific conditions, more money to produce than the others. So that is the relation, and we are now more keen to learn about it and to consume products that are less harmful to the environment and conscious with the economy. So that is why some of these pyramids, some of these new updated versions of these pyramids, these tools, are concerned with these two new dimensions. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
First of all, welcome to India as
Thank you very much.
Central University of Haryana.
Thank you very much.
So my question is, how does the Food and Agriculture Organization emphasize food-based dietary guidelines globally?
Our FAO,
How does the Food and Agriculture
Yes.
Organization emphasize food-based dietary guidelines globally?
how does they advise the food-based guidelines globally? As very important instruments, tools to teach the people to learn, because the FAO, the World Health Organization, sets some specific guidelines, some specific, for example, for proteins, for carbohydrates, for what we should intake in a day. But then the different countries, different policymakers should make the needful to assure that their populations will accomplish with that guidelines. So these food-based guidelines are the instruments we as professionals should use to teach the populations to follow that guidelines. I don't know if that is the answer to your question, but it's like that.
Thank you, sir.
So I would like to question one thing. On one hand, we are teaching people to go with a group of foods for their nutrition requirement, and on the other hand, we are fortifying some particular food with the wholesome of nutrients that can be provided to an adult or a child. So, which approach would be better in your opinion? To go with a group of foods or with a limited number of foods that have the whole nutrition?
What is better, the limited?
Should we go with the group of foods to fulfill the nutrient requirement, and on the other hand, should we go with the fortified foods, that is the limited number of foods, to go fulfill the nutrition requirement?
So here in this guideline, in these pyramids, we are not talking about food supplements, fortified foods. We are only mentioning natural foods, as it's correct to
These
say.
concepts actually contradict each other, because that fortified foods will completely demolish this idea.
Yes, fortified food, supplement foods are important, of course they are, but here they are not reflected. In these pyramids, in these tools, are not mentioned. The fortified foods, the enriched foods, are not included. Okay, in these tools, in these pyramids, are only included the fresh foods, of course, and this is specific for healthy population. Okay, that hasn't any specific requirement to make any kind of supplementation. That is important to point out. This is for healthy population, considering a child or an adult with normal status of their health. Of course, in some specific ages, for some specific populations, with some, of course, with some disease, we have to adapt this kind of tools, okay? When we use this, we are talking for the general population, for the healthy population, okay? That's the reason we only include the natural foods, not fortified, not supplements, not that kind. That of course are important, and but not included in this.
Sir, I have a question. How does the Mediterranean diet support gut health compared to other diets?
The Mediterranean diet, how does support gut health?
Yeah.
Well, only looking at diet pyramid, that was not a special concern of it. Of course, with our research and knowledge today, the gut health is very, very important, that the use of probiotics, prebiotics, but of course, here this is not well reflected, and this is the message that we want to pass from these tools are very simple. Are for the population. Of course, in the dairy products, in some of these food groups, we are stimulating that gut health, but we have not a specific message related to it. Okay. These are not so specific, so for that, this is for general population. We want them to eat more of this and not of this. We want that you make more physical activity. You want you to drink water, preferably to other kind of drinks. You want to share your meals with your friends, your family, use traditional foods, respect the seasonability of these foods, and think when you choose one specific food and not the other, their environmental footprint, and that's all. There isn't a specific relation, a specific message related with gut health. Of course, some of these foods are related with that, but there isn't a specific message through this pyramid.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No question. Jyoti. Only two. So first of all, I appreciate your efforts to make this presentation beautifully delivered. And you have highlighted the current 5 continent dietary practices. Sir, I would like to ask some strategies just to curb the hunger through some innovations. So can you throw some light on this particular aspect? Means what kind of strategy we can use just to curb this hunger problem, because nowadays it is going to increase,
Yes,
and we are talking about some sustainable aspects. So just in your opinion, just one.
yes, that's a relevant point, because most of us, especially from where I'm from, are concerned with non-communicable disease like diabetes, obesity, and problems derivated from excess food consumption. But when you look to the problem, to the nutritional problem globally, we have perhaps, or with for sure, more people suffering from hunger than and dying, not suffering, but dying from hunger, than the others suffering from diseases related with excessive consumption of foods. And as health professionals, nutritionists, we have to think about it, about how to make food arrive to all people in the world, at least in the quantities to make them healthy, survive, and take their lives in a healthy way. And sustainability is very relevant. on that. The way we use our raw materials, the way we plan the strategies to food production, it is very important. And the case we have discussed here, for example, the jellyfish, is one example of that. It is something that, for example, in Portugal, in Europe, doesn't see it as a food, as a food product. It is even a plague. But we can think in a way, in a manner, to use it as a food and to give it to the populations as a new food. The same, for example, as insects. We don't see we see them as a plague, but wait a minute, we can see a way to use them to incorporate in our intake, in our meals. And of course, it takes time. It is not easy, but I think that's the way, because we have more and more people in the world, and the food resources, of course, are limited, and that's a big challenge. And I believe that's one of our challenges also in this course.
Yes, thank you very much. So, can we add GMOs in this direction?
Yes, that is another polemical issue, the GMOs. What do you think about it? Of course, they have benefits, they have drawbacks. A few years ago, I was in Argentina, and there were elections, political elections, and the main topic to discuss in that political elections was the question of the utilization of GMOs, the benefits, the drawbacks, and of course, you can produce more and more food. They can feed people that perhaps have no other way to get their primary foods. But what are the hazards related with the consumption of that kind of foods? In middle term, in high term, what that kind of foods will bring to the population's health? That's a question, a very important question, and also an ethical question. So we give the people that has no other way to survive, no other way to get these foods, we give GMOs, or we leave them to die because we don't know exactly what the consequences of the ingestion of that GMOs in middle or long term. That's the question. I think nobody of us at this moment have, but implies very ethical questions, and of course that's a hot topic and very interesting.
Yes, thank you very much. So, last question from my side. So, as a public, how they can play the role to ensure the sustainable development? Means their participation in what capacity? What do you think about it?
How the public will be part of this?
Involvement of public in this awareness type of activity.
It is very important, since very soon in the school also to learn children how they can act. For example, produce their own vegetables, their own food, not waste food when they are have lunch or dinner. Don't waste food. That is part of the education. It depends not only of the school but from the parents and the children to learn it, and to involve all the community, all professionals, and all the citizens in the process is very relevant, because only that is the way to make a more sustainable and a better world.
Yes, so thank you very much. Nice, wonderfully you have explained everything. Now, is there any other question, please? No. So, Akansha, you can come. Or you have any queries? Thank you very much. Thank you. You have nicely explained very diet and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. You have discussed about different models from different countries, and it was, I guess, it is a very informative lecture of, for all of you. So all the participants are now invited to join us for the lunch outside this auditorium. And we will be resuming back at 2:30 p.m. So everyone is requested.